Hello there, it's Samantha. Welcome back to my channel, or can you hear? Hi, my name is Samantha, as I just said, and this is my channel where I talk all about books. Today I'm coming to you with another recent reads video. I switched to doing these back in June, and I think that this is my third one of these. And so it's essentially just a wrap up, but instead of doing it at the end of the month, I do it after I've finished 5 books, more or less. And it doesn't have to be exactly 5, although it is 5 in this video. I have read 3 other books since my last recent reads, but I did already talk about those in another video where I read the lowest rated books on my TBR. I will link that video up in the card in case you're interested. Please do go give that a watch. I put a lot of effort into that video, and so I would really appreciate it if you checked it out. I did talk about some other books in that video, so yes, if you are interested, check that video out. I talked about Zenith and Infinity Sun in that video. Those are like the 2 most well-known ones, so yes, definitely check that out if you're interested. But today we're going to talk about the other 5 books that I've read since filming that video. So the first book I have to talk about today is To Be Remy Cameron by Julian Winters. I picked up this book after I heard Mel from the book Schmel talking about this. This had already been on my Goodreads TBR, and then she talked about how much she enjoyed it, and I was like, you know what, I have to pick this up. So this book follows our main character, Remy Cameron, obviously, and he is openly gay, and he's known in his high school as being super likable and very confident, and everyone seems to feel like they know Remy. So Remy is set an assignment to write an essay describing himself and kind of has to figure himself out and kind of reevaluate the labels that other people have attached to him as he's kind of let these define him. So yeah, this book is really about finding yourself. It's very much like a coming of age sort of story and sort of self-discovery. I read this at completely the wrong time because after doing that video where I read the lowest rated books, I really felt myself coming into a reading slump, and so I just didn't really feel like contemporary at the time, but I'd started reading it and I had this mindset that I had to finish it, where really I should have just stopped and picked up like a fantasy book or something like that, something very action-packed, whereas this was definitely more of a slow-moving, like thoughtful contemporary book, if that makes sense. So I ended up giving this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and obviously that's still a good rating, and I still definitely did enjoy this, but I feel like I would have loved this if I'd read it at a slightly different time. It was very cute, and I did really enjoy the exploration of different identities and intersectionality, and it was a really enjoyable read, that's for sure. It definitely covered a lot of important themes. I'll leave the content warnings in the description. I really did enjoy this, but as I said, I think I read this at the wrong time because it's just a little bit too slow moving for me. As I said, it just wasn't the right time for me in this book. So yeah, I gave it a 3.5, which as I said is a good rating, but I think I could have loved this a lot if I'd read it at a different time, but I would definitely still highly recommend this book. The next book that I read was The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. I buddy read this with Elena from Elena the Great and Mel from the bookish Mel. I know that I mention them in like every single video, but you're just gonna have to get used to that. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. They're great. You should check them out if you haven't already. If you haven't, I don't know what you're doing because I mention them in every video, so I don't know what I can say to convince you to check out their videos, but just do it. Nike, just do it. This book is a very hyped book. This is the first book in the Devabad trilogy, but this book basically follows our main character, Nari, and at the beginning of the book, Nari is a thief in Cairo. Nari has these healing abilities, but she's never really believed in magic. And then one day she ends up summoning a Jinn warrior, and she's kind of forced to accept the fact that magic actually is real, and she's taken to the City of Brass, and she starts to learn about the 6 different Jinn tribes, and she learns about sort of the politics within the 6 tribes. There's a lot of old hatred within the tribes. She's just kind of thrown into this political context in this new magical world. This is an extremely hyped series, and in my opinion, it's overhyped. I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. For me, like, one of my main issues was the pacing of this book. I absolutely loved the beginning, probably around 100 pages. I loved it. I was having so much fun. There was a lot of action, especially in the very beginning, like when she was summoning Dara, who is the Jinn warrior who I mentioned. I found that to be just so fun and action-packed, and I really liked Dara at the beginning of the book, but as time went on, my opinions changed. Anyway, I really enjoyed the beginning. Then I found the middle section to be so dull. There was just a lot of info dumping, and it wasn't very intriguing for me. There was also really weird like time jumps, like a month would go by, and I don't know, I just felt like we were skipping over some important things that would have taken place in that month, but then it was still like really long. And then the ending was really just kind of chaotic and wild. I also didn't like Ali, who is one of the main characters, and we also get his point of view. So whenever I was reading his point of view, I was just kind of like, I don't care about you at all. I will say, like, one of the things that I really did enjoy about this book was the writing. As I said, there was some info dumping, which I wasn't a fan of, but if you actually like look at some of the sentences, like, they were just really beautifully written. And something that I really loved was her description of foods. I literally could like smell the food. Like, I couldn't actually, but like I could picture it so well that I could almost smell it, and it just sounded amazing. Also, the Deva are vegetarian, I believe, so I loved that because I've been vegan for a really long time. So yeah, I loved reading just about like lentil stew. Sounded so good. I was like, just give me that lentil stew, I want it. But I did really enjoy descriptions of food. It sounded so tasty, and I wanted to eat everything apart from the meat that was mentioned. Overall, I did enjoy it. I think the concept of the world was really good. It was definitely a unique setting and story in terms of the actual like magical elements. It's definitely something that I don't think I've read about before. I think this book had a lot of promise, but I just didn't really like the characters that much. I absolutely loved Nari, I will say that. However, I'm currently reading the sequel and I don't like her as much. So I don't know. It's really hard to talk about this book when I'm already reading the sequel. But yeah, I don't know. I think it was overhyped, but it was still a good book. I still enjoyed it. I don't know. I had my issues with it, as I explained. Let's move on to a different book, shall we? So the next 3 books that I have to talk about, I read during Becca's Bookopoly readathon that she did, which was the 48-hour readathon where she announced the challenges as you went along. It was really fun. I did vlog it, so if you're interested in seeing that, I will link it up in the card. I managed to read 2 entire books during that weekend and most of a 3rd book, and I also read a short story, but I'm not wrapping that up here because I will wrap that entire anthology up when I finish it. But yes, let's just talk about the books that I read because I'm making this way more difficult than it needs to be. So the first book that I finished for that was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This book was a lot of fun. This is a young adult mystery thriller following our main character Pippa. She's decided to focus her school project on a closed case about this girl called Andy Bell who was murdered 5 years ago, and everyone in this entire small town is convinced that Sal Singh committed this murder. However, Pippa is convinced that it was not Sal who did it. So she decides to look into it for this school project, and so she starts to discover secrets and the possibility that it was someone else who committed this murder. I don't want to go into too much detail because I do feel like with thrillers especially, you really don't want to know what it's about before you go in because it's so easy to spoil it. I ended up really enjoying this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I don't really read a lot of mystery thrillers, but I definitely want to get more into the genre because it was really fun. And it's such a quick, fast-paced story. It definitely had a little bit of creepiness to it, or, you know, not creepy, but I don't know if you know what I mean, but like, it's definitely thrilling, like a thriller. Oh my god, yeah, it was definitely thrilling towards the end. I feel like we don't actually get to know Pip that well, but obviously that's not like the main focus. The main focus is sort of the mystery aspect. Something that I absolutely loved was that this book is set in a fictional town. However, it's based on a real town, which is about 15 minutes away from where I used to live. So that was really cool. I did mention this in the vlog, but I know that you might not have seen that. So yeah, I'm just gonna mention it again. But yeah, that was really cool for me because I don't really read a lot of books that are set where I live. I tend to read a lot of fantasy books or books that are set in America, and I don't really read a lot of books set in England, or they're set in London, but you know, London's kind of a big place. It's not really the same. This was like so specific. Like, it's a town that not many people know about. That was really cool. I ended up tabbing this book, which I never do. It had some funny moments in it. I definitely feel like she captured the British wit. I really enjoyed that. I did not know where the story was going to go, but I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I definitely want to pick up the sequel at some point. Next, I listened to the audiobook of Ghost Squad by Claribel A. Ortega. This is a middle grade paranormal book following our main character, Lucely Luna, and essentially this book is set around Halloween, and Lucely and her best friend Sid perform a spell and accidentally release these evil ghosts into their town, and they have to join forces with Sid's grandmother, who happens to be a witch, and her grandmother's cat, and take down these ghosts. I would definitely recommend this, especially around Halloween time. I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I don't really have that much to say about it because I did listen to the audiobook really quickly. But yeah, I thought this was really fun and quick and definitely an enjoyable, slightly spooky read. I think this is perfect if you enjoyed City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. And also this book is based on Dominican folklore. So yeah, if you liked City of Ghosts and you like a slightly spooky middle grade story, then yeah, I would definitely recommend this. It was fun and quick and it's on script. So check it out. I definitely think that this was a great read. I enjoyed it, but as I said, I don't have a lot to say about it. The last book I read is one that I found really difficult to work out my thoughts on, and that was Normal People by Sally Rooney. I know this book is really popular. It obviously had a TV show adaptation, which I haven't watched yet, but yeah, I had never heard of this book until probably around April time when my mom and her friend were talking about the TV show because they were both watching it. That's when I first heard about it. I didn't really know what it was about, but I got it from my library because I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. It's weird in that like I didn't know how to feel about it. It's not like actually weird. I don't know, it is weird. But basically this book follows two characters, Connell and Marianne. They're both from a small town in Ireland, and it follows them when they start a secret relationship when they're 18 years old, and it follows them through 5 years of their life as they go off to university, and they kind of have this on again, off again relationship throughout that entire period. I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I took a few days after reading it to work out how I felt about it because it was just so odd. It was really frustrating. Like, I don't think the characters aren't particularly likable, and they're not supposed to be, but I did find myself feeling for them a lot, and I just wanted to take them and put them both in therapy. They both had their issues and they just needed to sort themselves out. There was so much miscommunication within their relationship, which is very frustrating to read. It's one of my least favorite tropes, but I think in this book, like, that was kind of the whole point of it, but it was really frustrating in that aspect. It's not like a typical book that I would read. It's not a book that I would read like for enjoyment. It's a book that you read like as a character study, sort of. Like that's how I read it in a way. Like when I started reading it and I realized that these characters were supposed to be unlikable, that it is really a character study of them and how they relied on each other and how their relationship worked and the toxicity of it. And I don't know, it's a really odd book, and I still don't really know how to work out my feelings and how to express them well. I ended up, I guess, enjoying it, not maybe enjoying it, but like appreciating it for what it was. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I do really want to read her other book, Conversations with Friends. Something that did really annoy me about this book was that she didn't use quotation marks, and I know that sometimes authors don't do this, and I guess maybe it's a stylistic technique, but like, I don't understand it. It's like, just put your quotation marks in. It makes it so much easier. I will say though as well that we did have alternating chapters of Connell's point of view and then Marianne's, and I think that Rooney did a good job of differentiating the voices, so you could definitely tell when we were getting like Connell's point of view and when we were getting Marianne's point of view. I think it was really well done. The writing style is definitely not gonna be for everyone. It's very simple. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I give 4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, that's what I think about it. If I talk about it any longer, I don't know where we're gonna go with this. We're probably just gonna talk in circles. Those are the 5 books that I wanted to talk about. That is the end of this video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below, and please let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know what your thoughts were, or just let me know what you've read recently. Did you read anything really good that you think I should read? Let me know. But I'm just gonna go because my voice is starting to hurt, so I will see you very soon with another video. Bye! Okay, let me just show you. I was wearing this dress yesterday for the first time, and like, look at that sunburn, and it's like got a patch. I don't know if you can see, but like, I got sunburned with the pattern of this dress, so love that for me.